Spider-Man arguably has one of the most profound, if not the most profound rogues gallery in all of comic book history. And he's had so many villains that have done absolutely horrific things to him over the years. But which one is his arch nemesis? Let's find out. But before we do get into that, if you are not subscribed to the channel, I want to urge you guys to subscribe. We're on the road to 30,000 subscribers. Join the best Spider-Man community in the entire world. Let's go on this journey together. With that being said, let's get straight into this. So there are three obvious contenders to this spot: Venom, Doc Ock, and the Green Goblin, all with very good reasoning as to why they deserve a shot at being Spider-Man's arch nemesis. But which one out of the three takes the cake? Which one can really claim to be Spider-Man's arch enemy? Well, first, I think we should start by talking about Venom. Venom is an interesting case because nowadays he's more of an anti-hero and more of his own character than he is a Spider-Man villain. In fact, most of his existence has been spent as his own character rather than fighting Spider-Man in the comics. But with that said, the prevalence that Venom has gotten in Spider-Man media, like the movies, cartoons, and even spin-off comics such as Ultimate Spider-Man, all send him back to square one as a foe of Spider-Man. Even in Marvel Spider-Man 2 that came out literally last year, Venom is still a Spider-Man villain, although very controversially. We've had some great battles over the ages, mostly psychological back and forths. Venom usually used himself to terrorize Peter, but apart from that, he's never really done much harm to Peter as a person or even to his reputation as Spider-Man, which are two things that Doc Ock and the Green Goblin have both done a lot more of. And on most occasions, Venom has even helped Spider-Man as well, like defeating Carnage. Venom has even gone against his own kind when he tried to stop the symbiote invasion. So apart from the physical appearances that they both share, I don't think I can really put Venom in that spot. In fact, I'd even claim that Kraven and the Kingpin hold more potential as Spider-Man's greatest villains over Venom. No disrespect to the character, but Venom's popularity carries him more than anything, and I don't think he really lives up to be the greatest of all time. So that leaves just two left: Doc Ock and the Green Goblin. Now, most people would instantly jump to the Green Goblin as Spider-Man's greatest villain if you put both of these out in front of you, but I think it's a lot more complex than that. Of course, the worst thing that ever happened to Peter Parker after Uncle Ben's death was the death of Gwen Stacy, which the Green Goblin ultimately was directly involved in. However, Norman has always been more of a villain of Peter Parker and never Spider-Man. What do I exactly mean by that? Well, just let me explain. Everything that Norman has ever done in the Spider-Man comics has been to hurt Peter Parker, but not necessarily Spider-Man. Whether Spider-Man and his identity was hurt in the process was a mere direct inconsequence of what Norman was trying to achieve. If you look at the most horrific things Norman has ever done to Peter Parker, it always includes going straight for what Peter loves most dearly. Whether it's Gwen Stacy, whether it's Sins Past, whether it's even the Clone Saga. However, Spider-Man and the Green Goblin were mere byproducts of that rivalry because it was never about them. It was always about Peter and Norman. On the other hand, however, Doc Ock is almost the exact opposite of this. Everything that Doc Ock has done to Peter almost seems like it was fueled by the idea of getting back at Spider-Man rather than Peter Parker. The two stories that back up this argument that I'd like to point out are If It Be My Destiny and obviously Superior Spider-Man. They both carried and centered around Otto trying to get the upper hand on Spider-Man specifically. Superior Spider-Man came about because Doc Ock was dying, and the only way to save himself was to swap bodies with Spider-Man. Despite how much Peter's life was changed by Doc Ock during his time as Superior Spider-Man, it didn't matter whether it was Peter or some random Joe on the street who was Spider-Man. Doc Ock was always going to swap bodies with him. Doc Ock's motivations more surrounded the idea of Spider-Man rather than Peter Parker. And this arguably makes Doc Ock more of a compelling Spider-Man villain than Green Goblin. So which one is it? Which one ultimately is the arch nemesis of Spider-Man? Well, if you were to choose one outright, I think Green Goblin slightly edges it just because he has the most relevance in Spider-Man media and comic history. However, I'd argue that it's kind of both of them. The best way to define it is that Norman Osborn is the personal arch nemesis of Peter Parker, and Doc Ock is the nemesis and match for Spider-Man as a hero. I guess you could also throw Venom in there and say that psychologically and internally, he kind of represents Peter's worst fears and nightmares, almost like an anti-Spider-Man. I mean, he has the physical similarities of Spider-Man, he has the Spider-Man eyes, the Spider-Man symbol, he spins webs, he basically just is the evil Spider-Man. But I don't think Venom comes nearly as close as Doc Ock and Green Goblin does to be the ultimate arch nemesis for Peter Parker. I think in a perfect world, you take the arch nemesis rivalry that Ock has with Spider-Man, along with the torturing nature of the relationship between Norman and Peter, combine that into one villain, and you have then got your ultimate arch nemesis of Spider-Man. Actually, now that I think about it, that'd be a really cool story. Someone should do that. Like I mentioned earlier, I think some of the outliers that definitely deserve shouts are the Kingpin and Kraven. Kraven for Kraven's Last Hunt and the impact that had on the character, and the Kingpin for the relentlessness that his character has had over the years, being one of the hardest villains for Spider-Man to take down. Not to mention, he had a hand in killing Uncle Ben in the Ultimate Comics, so that's got to be worth something as well. Either way, let me know in the comment section down below who you think is Spider-Man's arch nemesis. Here you can watch my video on Zeb Wells' issue 50 and my review on the comics so far. Thank you so much to the members for supporting the channel. You guys are absolutely awesome, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care and peace.